1. It is 11 p.m. Your body is screaming for rest, but your phone vibrates. It is a demanding message from a family member, or perhaps a coworker asking for one last favor. Your heart sinks, your chest feels tight, but your fingers, they type something different. No problem, I'm on it. Have you ever felt like you do not have the right to be tired? Like being the reliable one is not a choice, but a cage you have lived in since you were 5 years old? In our society, we praise the good child, the one who never cries, never argues, and always understands. But what if I told you that being called mature for your age was never a compliment? What if that praise was actually a psychological sentence, one that stripped away your right to be human? Today, we are unmasking the truth. Because being too understanding is not natural growth. It is a silent, desperate survival strategy, and it is time we talk about the cost of your silence. 2. Most people think of trauma as a loud explosion, but for you, it was a quiet, gradual fading. Psychologists call this the invisible child syndrome. Because you were so stable, so low maintenance, you became a ghost in your own home. Your parents did not worry about you. They focused on the sibling who struggled, the financial crisis, or their own failing marriage. You learned that being okay was the only way to keep the family from falling apart. You stayed out of the way, and in doing so, you learned how to disappear. This led to something much deeper than just being shy. It created a biological response called fawning. You are likely familiar with fight, flight, or freeze, but for the child who cannot run or fight, there is a fourth option: fawn. You learned to appease. You became an expert at mirroring the moods of those around you. If they were angry, you became small and quiet. If they were sad, you became the perfect listener. You did not do this because you were kind. You did it because your nervous system felt that a happy parent was a safe parent. This survival skill turned you into a master of hypervigilance. You can walk into a room and instantly feel the shift in energy. You notice the slight tightening of a lip or the coldness in a greeting before anyone else does. You have developed a superpower for reading others, but it comes with a tragic paradox. You are a stranger to yourself. You know exactly what everyone else needs, but when someone asks, "What do you want for yourself?" the silence in your head is deafening. Think about a man named Nan. Nan is the hero of his family. When a relative falls ill, Nan is the first one at the hospital. When a cousin needs a loan, Nan finds the money. He is respected, he is thanked, he is leaned upon. But one evening, Nan sat at a family dinner, watching everyone laugh and talk. He realized a chilling truth. They did not love Nan. They loved the service Nan provided. They loved the convenience of his existence. If he stopped helping, if he showed his cracks, if he finally said no, he felt certain that the seat at that table would vanish. He was loved for his utility, but he remained utterly unknown for his soul. 3. We have been taught to view this selflessness as a gift. Society looks at a child who never complains and calls it emotional maturity. But let us pull back the curtain on that illusion. This is not maturity. It is the premature death of the authentic self. Research in family systems tells us a haunting story. It is a concept known as parentification. This happens when the natural roles of a household are flipped. Instead of the parent providing a safe emotional harbor for the child becomes the anchor for the parent. You became the therapist for your mother's sadness, or the shield against your father's anger. You learned to manage their heavy emotions before you even learned how to manage your own. In her groundbreaking work, The Drama of the Gifted Child, Alice Miller describes how sensitive children possess an uncanny ability to discover and respond to the needs of their parents. To survive, you became a mirror. You reflected back exactly what they wanted to see, and in that process, the mirror forgot it had a soul of its own. This leads to what psychologist Carl Rogers called conditional positive regard. Most children should grow up knowing they are loved simply because they exist. But you? You grew up believing that love was a transaction. You learned that if you were not useful, if you were not quiet, or if you were not perfect, you were a burden. You did not feel loved for who you were. You were loved for how well you could disappear and serve. This belief did not stay in your childhood. It followed you into your adulthood, whispered in your ear every time you felt the urge to say no. 4. Beneath the surface of your calm exterior, there is a biological war that has been raging since childhood. This is not just a personality trait. It is a structural shift in how your brain and heart communicate. Because your early cries for help were met with coldness or irritation, you developed what we call an avoidant attachment style. You learned a painful lesson very early. Showing emotion is dangerous. It pushes people away. So you chose a different path. You buried your needs so deep that even you can no longer find them. You became a self-contained island, convinced that you don't need anyone simply because you could not afford to be disappointed again. Inside your brain, this constant suppression has a heavy price. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic and control, has been forced to work overtime for years. It acts like a heavy lid, constantly pressing down on your limbic system, the emotional center where your true feelings live. When you stay composed during a crisis, it is not because you are not hurting. It is because your brain has become a master at suffocating your pain before it can reach your lips. This leads to a state called high-functioning depression. To the world, you look like a success. You are productive, you are reliable, and you are stable. But internally, you feel like a desert. You are fine, but you are not alive. You are functioning, but you are not feeling. This emptiness is often rooted in what we call enmeshment. In these family systems, there are no walls. If your mother was sad, you were required to be sad. If your father was angry, the whole house had to tremble. Your emotional state was never yours to own. It was tethered to the moods of the adults around you. You did not grow an identity. You grew a radar, forever scanning the horizon for other people's storms while your own ship was slowly sinking. 5. But we must be careful. There is a dangerous trap in believing that your endless tolerance is a virtue. When you are too understanding, you are not just helping others, you are unintentionally enabling them. By always stepping in to fix the mess, by always being the one who absorbs the blow, you are stripping the people around you of their own growth. You become a silent enabler of their selfishness. You teach them that their actions have no consequences because you will always be there to soften the fall. In the end, this creates a toxic cycle where you are exhausted and they are stagnant. And what happens to all that pain you have swallowed? It does not just disappear, it transforms. For some, it turns into suppressed rage, a quiet, burning resentment that leaks out in passive-aggressive comments or sudden, unexplainable outbursts. For others, the weight becomes too heavy and the mind simply shuts down. You enter a state of emotional numbness where you no longer feel the bad, but you can no longer feel the good either. You must remember this. You were born to be a person, not a reservoir. You are not a spiritual dumping ground for the emotional waste of your family or your friends. Being a good person does not mean you have to be a doormat. Boundaries are not acts of aggression. They are acts of self-preservation. 6. Recovery for the people-pleaser does not look like a sudden explosion of anger. It looks like a quiet, trembling honesty. Imagine a Japanese kintsugi bowl. Its beauty does not come from being flawless. It comes from the golden seams that join its broken pieces together. For years you have tried to hide your cracks under a layer of understanding and helpfulness. You built a beautiful house, but the foundation was made of silence, and silence cannot hold the weight of a human soul forever. True healing begins when you stop trying to be the perfect anchor for everyone else's ship. It begins when you realize that your cracks are not failures. They are the places where your light can finally breathe. The real journey of maturity for a good child is not about learning how to help more. It is about learning how to bother the world. It is about having the courage to be inconvenient. To say, I am not okay today. To say, I cannot carry this for you. True growth is found in the moment you realize that those who truly love you do not need you to be a saint. They just need you to be real. I wish for you the strength to be misunderstood. I wish for you the grace to be difficult. Because it is only when you stop being everyone's solution that you finally give yourself permission to exist. 7. If you listened to this and felt a sting of recognition, know that you are no longer alone in your silence. Have you ever wished you could just rebel, even if only for a single day? Have you ever imagined what it would feel like to put your own needs first, without the crushing weight of guilt? Please share that story with us in the comments. Let this be a safe space where the good child can finally speak their truth. Your words might be the exact permission someone else needs to start their own healing. To continue this journey into the depths of the human mind, consider subscribing and becoming a channel member. Your support allows us to keep exploring these hidden corners of the soul together. And if you want to understand the biological roots of why you feel the need to please everyone, I have queued up a video titled Unmasking the Fawn Response. I am Gemini, and this is Tam Lee Moy. I will see you in the next one.